Hi, welcome to EDUCAUSE 2020. My name's Herb Thompson. I'm a VMware state and local and education strategist. And this session is really around driving digital transformation in higher education, and especially during this pandemic. We know from the EDUCAUSE survey, the 2020 survey, the top 10 comes out every year, and it creates these EDUCAUSE themes of trusted data, making sure we protect the student data and with the most security and control that we can. We focus on empowering students. Let's focus on taking the student and putting them at the center of the education process, making sure that we focus on student retention, student graduations, focusing on the skills they need to get the credentials and to have them get the jobs they need, and changing demographics of how kids are coming to higher education now with what type of a background. And finally, business strategy in order to change and adapt to new business models to find new ways of generating revenue for institutions. We also know that higher education is going through a lot of trends and a lot of disruptors now. First of all, changing demographics. We know from surveys that 74% of the undergraduates coming into the programs now are non-traditional. They have a family, they already have a job, they're coming back after working for a while. They're not the 18-year-old going right into the university system. So we have to adapt. We know that shortened half-life of skills is really becoming an important part of it to make sure that we graduate kids and graduate young adults with the skills they need to get employment. We also know that there's several companies out there that are already sponsoring education programs with some higher education facilities that they graduate with the skills they need in order to move right into the job market at that company. There's also this huge perception of the cost and value of getting a degree. When education used to cost $5,000 or $10,000 a semester, it wasn't as dramatic as now it's going up $40,000, $50,000, even $70,000 a semester. What is the value of getting that degree? And we've seen this whole trend of micro and nano degrees coming up in order to combat that high cost. You get a micro degree or a nano degree in order to get employment, and then you build these stackable degrees and to finally get a traditional degree. And finally, the changing business models and competition. We know that as tuition has gone down, tuition income has gone down, and government funding has gone down, we have to figure out how we're going to attract and retain more students to get more revenue. And so what we've seen is with the pandemic, now that everybody's online, differentiation has become the key. If everybody's offering online classes, what separates one online university from another online university? So we have to come up with differentiators. All of these education trends and disruptors are really causing disruptions in the higher ed space. Then guess what happened? COVID happened. March rolled around and we had to change everything from campus to online. We didn't change the mission of the university system, but we changed the service delivery. Pat Gelsinger said at the time, when it's not business as usual, is not an option, we need to focus on helping each other and assisting our customers as they respond and adapt. And I got two quick use cases. One is a large university where they had to pivot immediately and go from on-campus only to online only. And they did that by the future-proofed investment they made with VMware allowed them to make that transition. Same thing with Tyler Independent Schools. We're able to allow the students to go home, the teachers to go home, administrators to go home, and the business of education continued. We also know from an MIT technical review that just came out that 70% of the IT leaders believe that the pandemic is accelerating their journey and also they're shortening their life cycles and planning cycles. So with that as a backdrop, I think we're all set except for legacy systems are not designed for the modern remote student. Just picture the students on the left, there's this chasm, and we've had decades of educational material focused around a physical building. where you have all the educators, the learning models are there, the libraries are there, all the student wellness programs and nutritions are there, and that all disappears. So now we have to really focus on digital first learning and empowering student and educators. So here, if we put the student at the center, and we have educators around the outside, and not just educators around the outside, but educators from the different colleges and schools are all participating with the common goal to make sure that that student actually succeeds. It's not department by department by department anymore, but it's a holistic approach. Then the tools that the student uses and the educators use is really more adapted for digital learning. Student information, learning management systems, and the classrooms really are set up so you can have a blended classroom. You can have some kids on campus and some kids at home, and they can communicate with each other and they can participate all with that same type of blended classroom style. And all the support system, from nutrition, from wellness, through tutoring, to all those support systems are really geared at identifying what the student really needs and making sure that they can get the student through graduation. And we take all those systems and it really brings it down to these three simple principles. Whatever the application is needed, if we can deliver that application on the device the student needs, and that application can be hosted from any cloud, you really have this digital first learning model. And that any application model fits into VMware strategy. Any application, traditional, cloud native, or SaaS, can be delivered to any device either the student or the educator uses, and that application can come and reside from anywhere, from private or public cloud. So this any application hosted from any cloud, managed to any device with intrinsic security, this is really VMware's vision that has really guided us over the past 20 years. And these are 5 ways to accelerate the digital first learning model. Accelerate digital campus by improving service delivery through modern data centers and clouds. You can drive new business models and differentiators. You can empower student-centered learning. You can close that digital divide through seamlessly enabling the distance learning, online learning, and mobile learning. You can empower the educators and staff through increased educators and student engagement. That's all about the student engagement. Finally, you can secure all the data to mitigate those cyber attacks with intrinsic security, security first design, or a zero trust security model architecture. Finally, VMware enables you to achieve digital first learning, agility, whatever type of education material or delivery system you need, you have the agility. Excellence, you can deliver the material to the student when it is needed in order to make sure that you can manage and measure their success. And finally, trust. Zero trust security architecture is embedded in the entire VMware stack of technologies. And for the future, VMware future-proofs your investment in order to handle the new skill-based credentialing models that are coming down the road. Analytics driven anywhere, everywhere, right? Early warning system, make sure that we understand, is a student actually performing, and can we provide them with a support system that helps them graduate? This predictive-based student success scoring is a real interesting, where AI can be used in order to actually build questions and answers and actually score and manage the student's success over time. So we don't have to wait to have a big annual semester exam. We can measure performance over time and make sure the student really understands what's going on. And finally, immersive-based digital learning through AR, VR, and gamification, which is catching on in the K through 12 space predominantly. And finally, why do educators choose VMware? Because of its cloud agnostic digital transformation platform. This simple, flexible platform allows them to manage infrastructure applications across the entire ecosystem. And finally, with all that ecosystem, we have a boatload of integrated partners in order to fill in where VMware doesn't have strengths. So VMware is like Switzerland, being able to manage all of the partners very, very well. And finally, with that, I want to bring us to a close and say thank you very much for being with us, and welcome to EDUCAUSE.